First up on the work session tonight is a presentation by Surfline for the proposed shoreline monitoring system. We talked about this at council last month. Basically, Surfline already has some cameras out here for monitoring surf conditions, and they've got a new product that adds an AI dimension to measure shoreline change, waves, even number of people on the beach. And we had proposed last month to enter into a contract, a pilot contract to add some additional cameras and do some beach monitoring, primarily focused on shoreline change monitoring to supplement and in some places supplant some of the work that Dr. Elko does for us as we keep track of the levels of sand on the beach between renourishments. Council had some questions, requested further information, and Austin actually flew in from San Diego today to provide you with answers to those questions and any additional questions you might have. So, Austin, if you want to just come up, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Aaron. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Awesome. Well, my name's Austin. I live in San Diego, and really excited to be here. It's actually my first time in Folly Beach. I was telling the mayor, my best friends, Scott and Becca, they moved here like 6 months ago, and so I was very stoked to hang out with them on James Island and check out your wonderful city. So really appreciate you guys making the time. Like Aaron said, Nicole had presented the technology about a month ago, and I think there were some outstanding questions around ROI and privacy and things of this nature, and so I'm very keen just to talk about some of that today. I think we have about 5 minutes of slides, so it shouldn't take too long. I think stepping back, just to recap, these are the main goals that we've identified with Nicole and city staff. And so first and foremost, preserve the city's beaches. These are important culturally and economically, as we all know, and so investing in them proactively to understand erosion rates, especially at dynamic areas of the beach, that Nicole has that data to optimally place sand and design the beaches. Furthermore, the data is very helpful for driving state and federal funding, so you know how many people are recreating at the beach and how does losing sand impact that, what is the impact of the economy, to taxes, etc. So that's the first one. Secondly, there is immediate ROI, so there's other monitoring being done, and so this will replace some of that spend, so there's going to be immediate, ROI on that. And then third, we're not here to replace lifeguards by any means. We're here to support them, provide them data, them and public safety to help them optimally deploy their resources and maximize safety on the beaches. I'd like to emphasize Surfline is significantly subsidizing this partnership, so we work across California, Texas Gulf Coast, Hawaii. You would candidly be our first clients on the East Coast, and so that's why we're excited to partner with you today, and really we are investing in this partnership and trying to make it as compelling as possible. A couple quick things. To be very clear, Surfline's been around since the 80s. We were started in '85, and we've actually been building this technology for almost a decade now, since 2017. So I think I got some questions if it was a startup, something like this, but I don't think we have any of that risk. We've been around for a while now. These are some of our customers, like I said, across the Texas Gulf Coast, California, Hawaii, and candidly, every single client across the states, but also internationally, is very concerned about data privacy and data security. I want to be very clear, we do absolutely no facial recognition. We don't have any interest in doing that, but furthermore, there's not enough pixels in the camera feed to actually facially recognize who the humans are. So you're welcome to research this, but there's just not enough pixels to identify people on the camera feed. So we like to bring that up. This is a video of one of our cameras on the north shore of Oahu. If you click ahead, I think the video should play, unless it's PDF. It might be a PDF, in which case. Oh yeah, there you go. Sweet, thank you, Wes. So anyways, the system runs at 1 hertz, which basically means we're providing data once a second, which means you can measure some really interesting stuff, such as overtopping and run-up, some of that advanced coastal science stuff that Dr. Nicole Elko is very excited about. This green neon line is the shoreline position. So where does the beach meet the sand, the water? How's that change every day of the year? We also count people on the sand and in the water, and so we know how many people are recreating and how this changes over the course of the year. Can you skip ahead a slide, Wes? So most of our clients today, they measure the beach and profile of their beach twice a year. Folly Beach is the same, pretty much the same. It's just one to two measurements a year. If you click ahead a slide, with Surfline, we set up the camera once, and then we get the shoreline change data every single day of the year. So that nor'easter rolled through, that tropical storm rolled through, how much sand are we losing, where is the sand going on the beach, and that's really critical data for Nicole to understand when and where they place new sand in the future. if you click ahead one more slide, please, we also have all the recreation data. So hey, when we have a narrow beach, like you can see towards the left here, fewer people are recreating out there. When the beach is significantly wider, there's way more people that are out recreating. And so this data is going to be very powerful for you to say, hey, we lost 50 feet of sand. We need the funding because this is how much money we're losing because people can't hang out at the beach, and it'll help Folly Beach be at the top of that queue and hopefully get as much money as possible for the sand here. Again, we save all the footage, and so you can see here on the right-hand side, this is the North Shore of Oahu in March of 2025, and then 6 months later. They lost a ton of sand, and the point here is we save all the footage, so we have the data for Dr. Elko, but then we have all the footage for the people here, city staff, for the regulators, the state, and so anyways, we save all that, and a picture says 1,000 words, or whatever the expression is, and so we like to save that. Next slide, Wes. If you can just briefly play this one, we have had cameras in Folly Beach for about 5 years now for surfers, and we're going to provide all of this footage and all the data to the city. We don't do this with our other clients, and so this is part of the reason we're able to provide a big discount. Nicole, Dr. Elko, explicitly told me that this temporal and spatial resolution of data is super important to her. She wants to be able to see what the beach is doing every day of the year, and so we save all that. So you can skip ahead one more, Wes. So I'll try to be brief. We just have, I think, 2 or 3 more slides. Okay, so the other thing here, again, we've had these cameras up and running for a while, and we can see how the recreation at the beach has changed. We can see how the wave climatology has changed, how erosion rates have changed, et cetera. This is, I think, the tip of the iceberg for the type of data that we will be able to offer Folly Beach once we're clients. But you can see here, how has recreation changed over the last 3 years? 2025, way more people are recreating at the beach. And so if you lose a lot of sand that year, you can basically, this can justify, hey, there's so many more people out there, and use that with your congressman and those kind of people. We provide heat maps, and so for public safety in Charleston County parks, they would have access to see where people are hanging out at the beach. Again, these cameras are not going to paddle out into the surf and save someone that's drowning. That's not the goal. It's more about giving the lifeguards data so they know when and where to staff people. We can come back to this later, but happy to talk about some of our clients in California or Hawaii and how they're using this tech to preserve sand and that kind of thing. And so, in the interest of time, I'm going to go to the next one, Wes. The pilot that Nicole explained, $76K, funding source, the Beach Preservation Fund. This is almost a 50% discount. We don't do this with our other clients. Like I said, we're significantly subsidizing this. 1-year term to start, and what we'll do is we'll put a clause in there that says we will not raise the price in subsequent years. We're not trying to do anything like that. I know some of the council was wondering about this. And then if there is an interest in expanding the camera coverage in the future, that would lower the unit cost. But at last slide, just kind of closing on the ROI for this city. Again, the beaches here are huge culturally, economically, and so the first one is the most important, which is proactively measuring sand and leveraging that data to inform where you put future sand and getting more money for future sand placements. The second one, like I said, there's immediate cost savings, so you're not going to have to do certain post-storm surveys, which can cost $10K a pop, fairly expensive. It costs $10K to do a single drone survey, and to cover Folly Beach, you need at least 6 of them, and so there's significant savings there. Dr. Elko and I were talking about some of the economic surveys the city does, which cost about $10K. Again, you're getting all that data with the cameras. And then the last one, public safety. We'd have to probably run these numbers for Folly Beach, but our typical client is able to, they typically change about like 10% of their staffing to basically move lifeguards on days when it's way busy, so they don't have guards when it's not as busy type of thing. So anyways, next slide, Wes. That's all we had today. I really appreciate you guys letting us present. We're super keen to work with you all, and so if there's any questions, happy to stick around and answer those.
Answer your question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you answered the one about whether the price would go up. You have the existing cameras, you got 5 now, and I guess you subsidize those with advertisement and stuff like that. Is that right?
Not exactly. It's primarily through surfers. So surfers, we have a consumer business that we've been running since the 80s, and they'll pay I think it's like $8 or $10 a month, and they access all our cameras. So that's what's subsidizing those existing ones.
And then would there be an opportunity to collect monies like that to offset some of the cost of these new cameras?
We could talk about that. I think typically the cameras we're talking about are more for the city staff, and so we don't, the consumer surfer, they might get a side benefit because we're helping to preserve their beach, but it's not something we've done elsewhere. Happy to talk about that, but.
Well, the surfers will still have access to the original 5. We're not.
Correct.
we're not gonna take that from them, but.
Yeah.
And then does it slow things down or make things complicated if we were to give access to everyone to look at the, how many is it total?
It'd be 6 new cameras.
6
And
new
so
cameras.
talking to Dr. Elko, I think she's keen to put at least 2 to 3 on our consumer site for surfers. And we would just make them public, and that's, you know, added value to the community. But that's kind of at the city's discretion. So you tell us which ones you want public. If you want none of them, none of the new ones public, that's at your discretion.
Well, they should all be public.
I would think, yeah.
I mean, but my question is, why would you differentiate some from the others? I mean, if it's all gonna be used and they're the same technology, why would we be differentiating them?
Well, like now, they've got different cameras all over the beach, but if I subscribe to Surfline, so I go and we have 2 views at the pier, and we have 1 not so great view down at the washout.
Okay.
So their business is surfing, so I mean, that's why they only show.
Why can't we just offer it to all the surfers then?
Well, okay, that's a great call out, Mayor, which is, so our existing cameras, they're for surfers, and so they look primarily at the waves.
Okay.
The main thing Dr. Elko and the city is keen on is getting the sand data. And so the camera field of view is pointed, it gets some waves, but also primarily at the sand, which is not
Okay, so it's the same technology,
same cameras, exactly.
same as that cameras. You're just putting 6 more out there,
Yeah.
and you're now looking at the shoreline.
Well, it's not the exact same technology because the consumer cameras, they don't get any of this machine learning data. They don't get the shoreline data. So we actually, our data science team, for each camera we put up and we provide that data, they have to calibrate it. There's pretty significant human cost to do that. So we don't do that on the existing cameras, if that makes sense.
So we won't be collecting all the data that you just showed us from those 5 cameras?
No, you will. We'll turn that on. But if we put up just a new dedicated consumer camera, like not for a client like Folly Beach, we wouldn't actually do that.
I guess I'm sort of what Doc is saying, why wouldn't we just
Maybe I
turn
don't
all the
understand.
cameras on for everybody?
Yeah.
Flip them on. And actually, the mayor just said you can't see the washout.
Well, they're gonna put a new camera down there, but.
They're gonna put a new one
Yeah,
down there. They're
yeah.
switching that one out anyway.
Well, we'll keep the existing 2, but we'd add another one that is really hyper-focused on getting great sand data. So like we have the right angle and the right field of view primarily for the sand.
But I think we're missing the trees for the forest here, because this isn't really about showing surfers what to surf. This project is more about monitoring our beach health.
Yeah.
I think they've already got
Sure, but
surf
if
cams.
you can get some other benefit from it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be pretty cool for somebody to have access to this and say, well, I'm not going at 2 East, it's too crowded, but I'm looking at, 9 East, and there's nobody there, let me drive down to 9
So
East.
on the app, you've got washout, you've got
Yeah.
pier. Well, how hard would it be to add
No,
other locations?
we'll add them. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that for free, no problem. Like I said, I'd say if the city wants them
But if you're
public.
pointing them differently, it's not, I mean.
Well,
to
we
his
can see
point.
which ones give utility.
Yeah, exactly. There might be some that are not of surfer interest, and y'all would know that better than me on the island, but in which case maybe we don't want to put them up, but I think at least a couple do.
I mean, right now, you've got a peer view,
Yeah.
which is
That's
not really great for surfers. It's just an image of the pier. But yeah, I think if it gives utility, I don't see any problem sharing it.
Yeah, I agree.
What is the shelf life of these cameras, and how often do you upgrade them?
Typical 3 to 5 years. Surfline owns and maintains all the cameras. So if they go down or break, our team will fix it, and we'll put up a new one if we need to. So, yeah.
The one slide he showed, we went to Columbia and we're trying to get recurring investment in the beach re-nourishment, resiliency, and that type of thing. And you're trying to make the arguments about how valuable sand re-nourishment is and so forth. But when he showed that one graph that showed the effect of
The width
the
of the-
tourism versus the beach width,
Yes.
if you take that to Columbia, then you can tell that story. That one really excited me, because I was like, that makes it easy to show the correlation between the two.
Well, I think it's exciting too for the public safety to be able to, ebb and flow with hiring and staffing and.
But how will we get the data to public safety? That's my question. I
It's
mean,
all real time.
Yeah,
So they can log in and access it and see what's happening there?
absolutely.
Can they see a bear can on the beach that somebody needs to
Yeah.
get rid of it?
We talked about that,
I don't know that they'd have the resolution to see that, but Charleston County Parks, who does life around the pier, I understand, they would have access to this. They use a software called Watchtower, if folks are familiar. It's where they log incidents, hey, to do a rescue, this kind of thing. So there's another module, Surfline would just be in there, and they'd stick in there, and then public safety would use the same dashboard staff uses.
So Charleston County has access to the data. they can push any kind of aberrant feed over to public safety, or to the lifeguards, is that what we're saying? I mean, how do the lifeguards get bi-directional feedback, or how do we inform them when there's something going on, if you see something on the camera, or so some kind of aberration?
Yeah, they're built-in notifications, that type of thing, I guess
Yeah.
is where it's going.
So the camera feeds lag by about 20 seconds. So other lifeguarding jurisdictions we use, it's not necessarily to be real time, hey, someone's drowning, need to go drive there.
Mhm.
It just, that stuff happens in the blink of an eye. It's more about, hey, is there a huge crowd at the washout and we have no staff? Like, we might want to send a patrol. Or, hey, there's nobody at this part of the beach, like, why do we have lifeguards there? We might send them somewhere else. And then the longitudinal data. So we get data every day of the year, how many people are out there. And public safety and the lifeguards can use this to inform when and where they open towers. We have to open up 10 a.m., 2 p.m., that kind of thing.
So at the end of the year, we should have some kind of a graph that's showing the ebb and flow on the population in certain portions of the beach. And we should also know, where the congregates are mainly happening, and, where there's a nascent area of the beach. And it also allow us to know whether or not there's a, maybe some kind of a public safety issue that needs to be reported. So, I don't know, it seems to me like you've got more monitoring. As long as we're not gonna use it in a big brother kind of way, I'm all right with it.
I talked to Andrew about it, and I think if, his biggest thing was like just seeing abnormal crowd sizes. If
Yeah.
That was, that would just jump out, and then they could send somebody and see what's going on.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming because just a few clarifying questions. So, I guess I need to know the difference of, you've been here 5 years,
Yeah.
and what have you done to benefit, that was the surfers, is that what we've talked about?
Correct.
Okay, all right, so that's the first thing. So the second thing is, we're talking about sand data. So we're shifting now. This is a new maybe line. So one of the questions I think that was confusing to me anyway was, how long have you been in the sand data business?
Surfline Coastal Intelligence, 2 years. But,
Yep.
we started building this tech in 2017 as research and development for our consumer business. So we've been building the tech for almost a decade now.
So that's where I'm headed as
Gotcha.
far as experience, level of expertise, the risk involved as far as being the first. That's really where I'm just going to focus the question in. So in the last 2 years, are you saying, and I read about different things, are you saying that who are the clients that specifically do what you're going to do
Yeah.
for Folly?
Wes, do you mind going back to, I think, slide 4, 3 or 4? Thank you. Maybe one more. So these are some clients that
Yeah.
leverage the technology in
Could you
similar
read,
ways.
could you just sort of go for
So
it?
City of Oceanside and
Yep.
City of San Clemente are 2 large
Okay,
towns.
SoCal.
SoCal.
Yep.
The state of Washington is leveraging this, and the state of Washington at Westport, which
Yep.
is a cool spot. Port Aransas is on the Texas Gulf Coast,
Okay.
and they're using it primarily for tourism, actually. Less sand, candidly, more about tourism for them. Beacon is a regional.
Yeah, I read about
You're
that.
familiar? They
Yep,
do
I read
regional
about
planning
that.
in Santa Barbara and
Yep.
Ventura counties for, they have massive erosion issues.
Yep.
And so they do it across those whole counties. And then we do a lot of work in Hawaii, which is it's a nice client because they have a lot of erosion, but they have a lot of surfing. And so there's kind of dual benefit. I think similar to Folly, but we do work on the North Shore and then on Waikiki with the Waikiki, I forget the acronym, beach. I forget the acronym. They do their beaches basically in Waikiki. And then we do some work in Australia.
I saw the international. Okay, so, all right. I guess then my only last question would be more financial in the sense of, you're going to say that this is a benefit to you and to us, and that so this is a pilot program, 12 months, say we go for it and we want to re-up, you're ready to stabilize indefinitely that and
Yeah.
on an annual basis?
We'll put that in the contract. We will not raise the unit cost. If you cut to 1 camera, I think that would be different, but as long as you keep the number of cameras, we would not raise the cost. And then the cost would come down if you increase the number of cameras.
Do we
It's gonna
own the
cost more.
hardware, or are we leasing the hardware?
Surfline owns it. So you can think of it like a software as a service where you get all the footage and all the derived data. Surfline owns the hardware and we manage all that.
And the maintenance.
And the maintenance, exactly.
I mean, provided that it's access to all cameras and the public can access to it, and there's some kind of, we're not gonna raise the prices for people who do use it. think it's a great opportunity for us to prove our differentiation from other beaches in South Carolina, and we can go to the hill and raise some hell and get some money.
Camera gets knocked down in a storm, you own the camera, so you'll replace the camera, and that's not a cost that comes to us.
Yes, sir, correct.
And I'm not sure if this is a question for you, but how do we foresee the benefit to the Army Corps of Engineers? Like, how later on does this benefit us?
Those surveys that we had to do post-storm, that's the biggest one that
Yeah,
jumps out,
I mean-
because we have to do one of those each time we have a big event.
Right.
So instead of going back and having to call through it manually, we'll have that data immediately.
And also just a more fine-grained detail across the entire beach of site-specific changes. We only have so many markers that Dr. Elko measures.
That was my
This will
question.
give us essentially the entire beach. So the next time they're, say, designing our nourishment project, they'll be able to more accurately define the level of sun at a much more specific, almost parcel level.
Real time, and when I spoke to her, clearly, I guess one of the things as far as my, not really concern, but advocacy is, I mean, Dr. Elko, this will only benefit her, but I would also not want to reduce her, I suppose, the commitment that we have to her, because those, yeah, I did speak to her directly about, she goes out and she does this a few times a year after a storm. So will that be something that if we did go for this fall, we would sort of fold that into our discussion? She is our consultant, and
She's advocated pretty hard. for it.
I'm just from a
You know,
Folly,
Definitely in terms of, say, her contract.
Yes, that's what I'm talking
When that's
about.
up for review, we'd have to look at it, but I think a better way to see it is this will enable her to do more things for us that she could charge us.
well, see,
for.
I'm always gonna be the positive, and so, I'm gonna definitely say that, but I'm also gonna be on the record to say, is she's the asset that's gonna use this. This is a tool that she's going to use, and if,
I'd say Dr. Elko and work related to what she does for the city is the primary focus of this.
thank you.
Chris, where's the money gonna come from?
Beach Preservation Fund. Any other questions? Austin, thanks so much.
Cool. Thank you, council, appreciate it.
So next up, we have a proposed ordinance related to plastic straws and balloons. These two concepts were introduced together back in January, before Jenna left. The first is plastic straws. Maybe a decade ago, we regulated plastic bags, and then a little more recently, we went back and updated that ordinance to address thicker plastic bags, some things that other jurisdictions in Charleston County with the plastic bag ban had done. At that time, we chose not to address plastic straws. Some other communities have, we chose not to. This is one of those perennial ideas, so it came up earlier or late last year. And in January, Jenna had presented an ordinance that would propose to ban plastic straws and require compostable straws or some other option. After the meeting, we spoke to the aquarium, we've been speaking to the Coastal Conservation League, Noelle is here tonight. And the idea that came out of that is rather than ban them, we can treat them the same way we treat cutlery, which is make them on demand. There are other places in Charleston County that do that. So this ordinance would require plastic straws and stirrers to be treated the same way we treat plastic cutlery today. Is they're still available, but only upon affirmative request of the customer. And then the second idea is balloons. This came up also kind of late last year. We had a couple of folks forward this to the city for consideration. We already prohibit the release of balloons on the beachfront, from the beachfront. This would expand that prohibition to the entire city. When Jenna presented them, they were two separate ordinances, but they both lived in the same section. So we combined them into one draft for you guys to review tonight. And then just quickly, there are some other things in here that, while we're amending ordinances, we like to tie them up. And so you'll see the title changes. This isn't just about single-use plastic bags, it's about single-use plastic items. So that's what the change in the title means, and the purpose there. We go beyond bags and now include straw stirrers and balloons. It already included cutlery later on, but it wasn't in the introduction, so that's why you see it there. Sorry, that's on page 3. Wait, is that page 3? My number's cut off. could be page 2 of the ordinance. So that's section 112.01, the title and purpose of the regulation, and then the substantive change is there on page 5, item F, and that would be the prohibition on balloons, and then on the back on page 6, we're just adding straws and stirrers to the section that already deals with plastic cutlery. So this is kind of an evolution of what Jenna presented in January. When she left, this is one of the things that needed to be picked up again. So that's where we are tonight.
And we've got people from different organizations. Nicole, would you be interested in speaking real quick?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Noelle Finley. I'm with the Coastal Conservation League. I apologize, I didn't prepare anything, but I definitely like to show our support for, closing this loophole in your ordinance. Folly Beach is one of the only municipalities that doesn't have straws in your plastic ordinance right now. But yesterday, we did a huge Folly cleanup with our organization, Charleston Waterkeeper, Coastal Expeditions, and we had roughly 40 bags of trash that we picked up. And a lot of this trash was straws and other small microplastics. And so I think it's really important to, amend, add this to the ordinance. It's also not, a necessary cutlery, so I think it shouldn't be a huge problem for consumers, but I also think it's important to communicate with restaurants. I've spoken with the city of Charleston, talking about how they made this transition. They actually had a DHEC grant that, helped restaurants financially transition, but, I think with straws, it should be less of a problem. I think in the end, it would actually save restaurants money, because you're not providing, straws. And, they can still have the straws, but, people have to ask for them. There's other options too. I have looked into alternative straw options. They are more expensive, but there's always bamboo, paper, even wheat. There's a ton of different products out there. But I know other municipalities have also sent out surveys, so our organization is happy to send out surveys to restaurants, but I believe it was the city of Charleston that actually sent out the survey themselves, and sometimes that works better. But it's up to you guys. I'm happy to, communicate with restaurants, see where they're at, and
I think with on-demand, they have the latitude to use what they want to use as far as
Yes,
that goes.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
kind of the goal, is just to reduce the.
Yeah. Totally.
And thank you for mentioning the feedback from restaurants. Earlier last month, when we started to draft this and knew it was going to be on the agenda, we did send the proposal to FAB and a separate restaurant group that's been working with the city. We sent that out and asked them to distribute it. I cannot speak for how widely they distribute it, but I can say that we only got one response back, and that was actually from an affirmative. That's included in your packet. I think, is a positive email in the packet?
Yeah, Mr. Pope, that's actually where my question was, as far as we gave them access to survey to come. I see that, and then we got one, that's it. There's nothing else to come, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's,
We did get another email from the Surfrider. I think I put that
yep,
in.
saw that.
They were advocating, and do you want to speak tonight from the aquarium standpoint? Come on up.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Kelly Dorvalson, South Carolina Aquarium. I have data. Are y'all surprised? It's great timing that you had this work session tonight, because we've been crunching a lot of straw data for the last 6 or 8 months in this discussion. But you have an ordinance against a lot of different items, some on the beach, some island-wide, and so we really decided to just take a deep dive into all of your banned items, beach-wide and island-wide. And so I'm going to give you that. I will not get into that tonight, but it's really wonderful to see how these banned items, in most cases, are in very low numbers, like food and drink styrofoam. They were in higher numbers prior to your ban. They're very low numbers now. Cigarette smoking on the beach, I'll point that out because that was a big ban. I think it went into place, if I'm not mistaken, in 2021. The numbers are around 33% of total litter, now they're about 17%, and I don't know that it's being enforced, that's just having the law in place, right? Like bans work. The straw data, these are the only debris that we've been talking about with Folly Beach City Council for years, that have increased over the years, and we have seen an increase. And so I will give you all of this. The way it's laid out, the straw data comes first, and we have beachside straw data and then roadside straw data. We split the island. So you can see what's happening on the beach versus roadsides. Roadside straw data is still a lot of straws, but it hasn't really changed in percentage of total litter over time. It's the beach data, and we know that it's really since the Pier Bar came online that we're seeing that. It's increased from 2 to 3% to 4 to 5%, and it's tracking at 4% of total litter right now. And 4% might not sound like a lot, but it's 750 straws, 1,000 straw, over 1,000 straws just for 2026. So it's a lot of debris. So as Nicole said, so first, the data that I'm reporting on, those are just litter sweeps with data collection, which is the South Carolina Aquarium, in partnership with multiple people that partner with Toby Turtle, Vanessa, but there are lots of folks, obviously, that aren't taking data during cleanups. They clean 4 bags, you said? 40 bags of debris, lots of straws, but we don't know what that count is. So this is a dramatic undercount, but it's a really good representation of the percentage of total litter that we're seeing on Folly Beach. And it really, a lot of these percentages track with other beaches pre-bans, right? Bans work, and so ordinances work. I know this isn't a ban. I will say this, my greatest concern, I've been part of these ordinances since the first plastic bag ban on the Isle of Palms in 2015. And I was here when you banned, you took it to the next step and banned more things. I've been at every single council meeting, not here, just here in Charleston County, but in Beaufort and in Colleton County. I've been part of these discussions. I live here, of course, so I visit restaurants here, and my biggest concern is that a straws upon request doesn't work. In some cases it does, but in most cases they are still giving straws because you gotta stir your cocktail with something, and that's a straw, right?
Why can't it be biodegradable?
Well, it can be biodegradable, but biodegradable, the plastic looking biodegradable, they're kind of fake plastic. They might be plant-based, but they're still made with chemicals. They are still made with chemicals that are leaching into the environment. They still are keeping people hooked on plastic, and that is what we all need to be able to move away from. We have got to get over needing a plastic straw. My wish is that we use wooden stirrers in our coffee. Why not use a wooden stirrer in our cocktail?
Why not use a bamboo straw?
Well, because those are much more expensive than a
Okay, what's the relative expense? Explain to me, because the price of a hamburger is $30 now, so explain to me why.
I'm not a restaurant owner. I am sensitive to the restaurant owners, the businesses. So
do we have any data on the price of straws?
So a plastic stirrer compared to a bamboo stirrer is pennies. It's 3, 4, 5 cents at the most. A bamboo straw compared to a plastic straw, it's like 15 cents more expensive per straw. But when one restaurant is giving 1,000 drinks a day, that adds up. I mean, so it sounds like a minuscule amount of money, but it really does add up. So it's easier for restaurants to not give large straws, right? Here's your water or your soda, straw upon request. It's the cocktails that becomes muscle memory. and people need to stir, so they're just gonna be given out. I just want you to know, that's my greatest concern. Their entire countries, I think I said this in one other meeting 6 months ago, but the entire country of Costa Rica has banned straws. There are cities across the globe that have banned straws. You can do it. I realize that is not what's on the table. That is not what the business community is okay with, and this is where we are. We are at a straws upon request addition to your ordinance.
Kelly, can you help me out then, just to think about Isle of Palms, just as far as the other municipalities that are coastal around
Sure.
us?
Mhm.
Are they banned there?
They are not. They are not. You, Folly, would be the first. And I think in my very first conversation about this, I was like, be the first. Be the first, because it takes someone to be the first for others to go, oh my gosh, it can be done.
So just to let us know, are they straws on demand, or where are they? I just,
Everyone is straws upon request,
okay.
but I'm curious to you guys, when you go to a restaurant that's not on Folly, that does have, James Island has this ordinance, City of Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Sullivan's Island, Isle of Palms, Kiawasira, they all have it. How many times do you still get a straw? Like, how many times does someone actually ask you if you want a straw? So I have to say, every single time I'm in a restaurant, no straw, no straw, no straw, no straw, no straw. And they still put it in sometimes. I mean, it is muscle memory for food and beverage. They're busy, they're just trying to whip out these drinks and get these folks served. And to have to go back and get a straw, that's inefficient in a lot of these cases, right,
And-
when they're busy.
And the only other very local question I have is, I remember counting straws and things like that, and predominantly they really were under the pier. As far as, that's still the case, just because there's a restaurant there.
That's right. There have always been a lot in front of tides, and then there have always been randomly strewn, but there are hundreds at a time under the pier.
That's what I've seen.
And they are spending more for compostable. They are compostable. But these are products that are thicker than plastic. They're not breaking, it might take 1.5 years for them to actually break down. And what they're breaking down to are still chunks of material that could be ingested by a fish or a shrimp or whatever. So they act like plastic. Even though they're not petroleum based, they still act like plastic. And so they are, you guys, as an environmental scientist, we try to do our best, and sometimes we learn that good idea wasn't the best. Compostable, plant-based products, now every Joe and their cousin are out there creating plant-based compostable products, and they're not all created equal. Some are much better than others, and because it's this new business that is a moneymaker, right, in this environment, this anti-plastics kind of space we're in. So, there are a lot of just people that don't make good products making money on compostable stuff, so.
Yeah, I think our intention with this is, first steps.
Right.
Work, cooperate with the businesses. I
Yep.
think some of this is gonna take communication and education with the businesses to see what works, I would, a ban, I know is your ultimate goal.
I mean,
If
that's
we
my
could-
dream.
But if we could take a small step, I think, and reduce, then I think that's a positive.
I agree, and I am ecstatic that you guys are talking about this, that you're ready to hopefully push something through. We will be here, we will continue to track litter, and that's why we do this. We don't only want to tell you what the most problematic debris are and look for sources of those debris, but we can track when you put a solution in place. Is it working? And we'll know through data during litter cleanups whether it's working or not. So we'll be here for that, as you know we will.
Yeah.
And we applaud you for what you're doing. Encouraging beachfront establishments to consider going strawless would be wonderful, or wooden stirrers. people, visitors, they are looking for sustainability in the businesses they spend their money in, and it will go a long way for them to say, hey, we've got turtles nesting on our beaches. We're not serving plastic straws or even plastic-looking straws, right? It's a good thing on a lot of different fronts.
Well, the good news is you guys are counting, so we can have measurable data behind
Measurable
this.
data.
So if we can
That's right.
basically see the results. So, yeah.
So I'm just going to.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we, wanna move on, Chris?
No, you can-
Yeah. I guess my concern is, I agree. I don't think this is gonna be a right of first refusal conversation. People are gonna get the straws because nobody's gonna take the time to ask them if they want it.
Right.
And it could be dependent upon request, but then again, the irony behind that is, how many servers do we have on this island who are gonna have to follow that rule?
It's hard, y'all. I'm just.
I don't know
that's
that
my
we
biggest
should do it,
concern.
but now if we ban it, you know, there's gonna be some pushback, obviously. Why can't we find an alternative like a sedge straw or even a paper straw that dissolves in 4 weeks?
So my,
You want to,
thank
she's got some information too. So.
Well, so I think one of the things that could mitigate this problem is making sure you all have a good enforcement mechanism, and I don't know who enforces the plastic ordinance.
You really have to write a code about
That's-
enforcement.
Yeah, and so, at least for the county or the city of Charleston, it's really difficult to enforce this, and even finding it online, trying to report a restaurant is impossible. So I think maybe figuring out a way to, you know, hold these restaurants accountable in a more effective way.
Just say paper straws. We don't like them, but that's an
everybody
option.
hates paper
Yeah.
straws.
Well, I
We
mean,
hate them, but they dissolve in 4 weeks.
Right.
You know, I honestly think that it's a shame that we didn't get the feedback from the businesses.
It is.
Okay, in the sense of, I mean, because we really do need buy-in or something to be able to go to another place, whatever our goal is. So I don't know, I certainly don't have the answer, but the fact that we outreached, you know, I could say, well, then, all right, let's just ban, because, you know, did we really have a dialogue, or so I'm really sort of at a loss to be able to say, frankly, you know, I do think it should be better. Clearly, you've given us the information that we say on demand or by request. It's not a real, true answer. So is there any other potential?
Well, we've got two officers now that are business liaisons, and they're going out every other week to each business on the island.
Okay.
This week, we're giving them a report on the Center Street project. So material can be left related to this and saying, look, this is the new ordinance. And then we could, you know, while they're in there, they can look around and see what's happening. But there is now a consistent contact at each business every other week.
You know, next to banning, my ideal situation would be wooden stirrers that are inexpensive. Wooden stirrers for cocktails, your short cocktails, and a straw station. You want a straw? They're right over there. And then people can go grab a straw. Do you need a straw too, my daughter or whatever, I'll grab two, right? There are cutlery stations, there are stations to get things in different restaurants. There could be a sign above every straw station, and so no large straws, right? In servers' hands or in bartenders' hands. There's a straw station on the wall that says, we're saving sea turtles, take it if you need it only, or something like that, right? And then coffee stirrers for cocktails, because that's really all they need to do. You get a cocktail with a lime, you might need to stir it. And I don't know, that would be my my second dream. So anyways,
Thank you for your,
Yeah.
your
here for you guys, thank
got
you.
it.
Just,
Is it, this wouldn't be citizen comment, but is there a room to talk from the beverage industry? I don't know how it works during the.
Wait, no, not on this one.
I think it may sound like there's not enough certainty at this point for a vote tonight, and we can agree to postpone for further outreach and study.
I think there might be enough agreement to take this first step. I think the real question is, do we go further? And I don't think it's an all or nothing. I believe everything happens incrementally, and, you know, maybe we got the data, we know what the problem is, it's the pier and the restaurant and the businesses that are on the beach, and maybe a more surgical approach that says, if your business is on the beach, no straws. You know, or paper straws like Doc has suggested, and not put that burden on everybody, and then see what the data says after that. We'll see what the on-demand does, and see what kind of decrease we get from just on-demand. But then next maybe is we say, if your business fronts the beach in any way, you don't have plastic, you have paper. And that way we're not putting a burden on 24 other restaurant beverage businesses that are 3 blocks removed.
Yeah, I don't want to ban it, but I don't know why we care that it's not the greatest solution there's a paper straw. Or a bamboo straw, or a Lexan straw, or something else. I mean, if it's nothing, then they get nothing. And if we give them a biodegradable one, or give them on demand, like the mayor is recommending, I think that would be fine. But I'm not sure that giving the servers the wherewithal to say, hey, you know, do you want a straw, you do not want a straw, or put that in the hands of them, I don't know that that's gonna pass muster, because people are just gonna expect them to be in there. It's just like she said, they're gonna shove them in the cup. And I guess I'm less concerned about cocktail straws, and I'm more concerned about the actual straws. You know, children and adults are using them all up and down this beach.
But I do think it goes back to messaging. It depends on how we are consistently talking with the businesses and saying, hey, this is the new reality, on demand. You get a cup, fill it, don't put anything in it. That shouldn't be that hard.
As long as they follow those rules,
And, yeah.
I
I
don't
think,
they're gonna follow them.
to me, I think the fact that we can actually measure it from these beach sweeps would be a good way to say if it's working, then we revisit.
And just as a follow-up, I mean, I think straws, it's across the island in the sense of I know where the certain pockets are, and I'm clear about why they're that way. But if this is a first step and we move forward with a commitment to see what happens, but I do think it's, you know, to section out, I just think it's across the board, the execution, and then, you know, we move from there. But like you said, Mayor, you know, if this is a step, we have the communication. It's clear that we possibly will still continue to discuss eventual banning if this doesn't work. We still have that option.
Yeah, I don't see this as like the be-all, end-all.
Yeah.
It's an evolving kind of
It's
conversation.
pretty fluid.
So, I mean, I'm, baby steps first, I think this is a great first step to start things. I like the wooden straw idea, because I think cocktails are one of the biggest things, and I know Burt's has them there, their coffee shop there, and biodegradable stuff. But it is expensive for the restaurants to do bamboo and it's like, and I think that could be something to look at once we see the data coming back from you guys. Give it a year, give it a couple of years or whatever, and then revisit it, and again, make another step to go a little further, and then if we have to, at the very end, and with some input, hopefully from the restaurants this time more, we could do a ban from there.
I think the fact that you all have, something like 18, 20 restaurants, it's a really manageable size to be able to check in on and have conversations with.
So I went to a restaurant where the littering occurs under the pier. I'm not gonna be naming any restaurants, okay? And I asked them about the straws, why they gave me the straw, and they said it's easy. Right to where she's saying. Now, if we're gonna encourage them to, or tell them it's gonna be on demand, we're gonna have to enforce that.
That's, yeah.
Secondly, they said, these are biodegradable. So I took them out, buried them in the sand. They did not degrade. Okay, so I tried to figure out what the heck to do to find, where is the biodegradables, you know, and I looked around, there's bamboo and there's flat paper and all the other. None of the people complain about it. I would just prefer, if we're going to have an opportunity to at least curb the potential trash that could kill our turtles, let's go ahead and go with a more aggressive straw. Particularly since it's on demand. And the cost accounting of that over time, if we're not handing them out, okay, we're only gonna give on demand, probably won't be as steep as you think.
I'll be honest with you, the enforcement of that could be a nightmare.
I don't know how you enforce it.
I
You
just-
know,
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Defining the particular straw, I mean, I understand.
It's hard to tell one of these cellulosic straws as opposed to.
That's my only thought in that. I mean, you know, it'd be
can we encourage them in the
Yeah.
literature we give them to please try to use biodegradable
And I
cells and
think-
ask experts what to use?
And I think you're right. No,
Not biodegradable, some kind of dissolvable, what do you wanna call it?
No, like wood or whatever.
Wooden or
I liked
paper.
your idea of the station, and so I think if we go to them and offer alternatives and some kind of creative solution around this, that helps them feel like they're still offering it to their customers, but not at such a number as they are right now, I think we'd be in a pretty good spot.
I just don't think we can define and dictate what kind of straw at this point.
Well, I know we can't dictate
Yeah.
preventing people from putting straws to begin with.
But I do think this is a good start, so that's my opinion. Are we good? All right.
Leave it in.
Yeah, I think we
Consider
should.
it for a vote. Yeah.
Thank y'all for your input, appreciate it.
Next up, we have a proposed lease for storage areas at Third Street West for use by Sun and Ski, which is one of the approved Section 2 beach chair and umbrella vendors on the beach. When the contracts were awarded earlier this year, there was a lot of discussion around various storage areas. The other Section 2 vendor, Betty's Beach Chairs, is currently leasing the Second Street Shed with a lease that terminates at the end of their franchise term. And we have a nonprofit and surf lesson provider combo, so not beach franchises, but a non-franchise beach business and a nonprofit who partnered up, and they are for the cost of the improvements they did, they have been granted the lease to storage under the building there at Third Street. So after that, in the spring, various vendors approached the city, what can you do for us, where can we put stuff? We relayed and encouraged them to review council's discussions on that matter, but we did review actual storage opportunities with them. We talked to Folly Beach Chair Company about some areas at Third Street West under the building, near the walkover. They declined. We showed those same areas to Sun and Ski. Sun and Ski thinks they can make it work for storage for their business. And so we advised them that only city council can approve the lease. So there's an ordinance tonight that would enact the lease, and then we've got Travis here to answer any questions you have of what improvements they would plan, and they would be responsible for the cost of the improvements. That's why the lease was written for $1, and the lease is proposed to go to the end of their term, and that's it. It's just a basic framework at this time. We wanted to get it for you guys for your considerations, questions, fine tuning.
Just for clarification, you said in exchange for the cost of their closing it in, they were given a free lease. Actually, they were reimbursed for the cost of their improvements, and then they were given the free lease.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Y'all have any questions for me?
On page 15, this picture here, is there gonna be a structure that's built?
So that was just a
Built out?
potential idea, that would, a box, not an actual shed or anything like that. That was just a potential idea. Right now, I've just got my plastic lounge chairs. I cleared up an area near Isla's where they had their storage. It was just weeds and trash and excess dirt, and I cleared that out and flattened it up where those are. Yes, sir, yeah. And
Yeah,
so
I
right
get
now, I've
this
just got my
one.
plastic chairs right there behind the shower, out the way as possible, locked up in the evening time.
This is the one I was confused about, because there's no
Yeah.
storage under the stairs, so you're talking about building out and putting a,
So originally, I had my plastic chairs stored right there while I cleared out that space where they're at now. And I had an idea about possibly putting a small box right there, a storage box, not a shed or anything like that. Of course, I can figure out a storage box space elsewhere. I don't want to push it. I know Folly's not doesn't want to get in the storage business,
So just to follow up with Mr. Folly, this right here, you're really not proposing, okay?
That would be
Okay,
very
just wait
good.
one second. You really, I'm putting that to the side.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
if you had a priority, what you're
Yes.
really saying is this is what you want.
Correct, yes, ma'am. That's would be pretty crucial to me if I can keep my plastic chairs right there out the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, about
That's what I'm
mistaken,
proposing.
there's 2 storage areas underneath that, correct? And Warrior Surf has one.
Yes.
Would
And
that be interrupted in any way?
No, sir, no, Isla has their door right there, they have plenty of space to
Okay.
get in and out,
Okay.
where my chairs are, and then
Yeah.
Warrior's on the other side, completely away from me.
Okay, perfect.
And And I think, did you work a little bit, or with Mr. Lutz? Do you have some feedback for us?
We looked at there.
Yes, we looked at both areas, including the one next to the railing on that other picture, and there would be no impact to the public. He's got it set up where he could work within the piling to the railing if you choose to let him.
So you looked at both
Yeah, they both
options?
can work together or separately.
Who's currently using that?
Thank you.
Nobody.
Nobody?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, insurance, will their structure be, I guess it'll be
It
built
can be moved.
to code, right? And it'll be
Yeah.
engineered or whatever, so as not to affect the,
What he's talking about would be structurally independent. It really doesn't change anything for us. We'll be all right.
so do we need insurance for some add-ons like that? Or,
Ask Joe on that.
Joe?
It should be covered already. I'd have to look at the coverage, at the policy language.
So just for clarification, when it comes to a vote or a debate, are we going for 2 or 1, or just a process question?
It's just this space here.
Just this one?
Yeah, that's the only one I'm utilizing right now.
Oh, that's it,
No,
that's,
that's-
okay, so, okay, that's all I needed to.
Awesome.
I just, if Joe finds out that it should have some kind of rider or insurance, that would be part of what we agreed to,
Yeah.
knowing that up front.
We're not currently requiring them to have any insurance.
These guys?
Yeah,
I mean, as part of their franchise.
See, it's part of-
They do.
okay. Yeah, they have insurance. Usually that's gonna suffice. You know what I mean? I mean, there comes a diminishing returns, right? You know, with
Well, I gue-
insurance upon insurance upon insurance.
I guess just for consistency, right? So we have other franchises and one of them does have storage. So isn't it sort of across the board for all of them if they have storage, or, I mean, they're
So
covered? Or that was part of the agreement?
They have,
They-
insurance is part of their franchise agreement, naming the city as an insured. Whether or not their franchise chair rental insurance covers the improved space they put under our walkover, I do
We,
not know.
I understand what you're
But
saying.
I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure that is a question they've been asked, you know?
I guess what I'm asking is, it wouldn't be a liability to the city at that point, that would be their liability.
Liability to him.
Well, right,
Yeah.
liability, but then there's insurance, right? But I'm gonna guess that most of those policies will cover it, you know, if you want me to start reviewing franchise policies, I'll do that.
No, I'm just trying to figure out if there's any additional liability incurred by the city at that point with what he's doing. I think that's what I'm
No,
asking.
I don't, not anything of,
But that kind of goes to what you're
That's
thinking.
exactly what I'm asking.
yeah, we're kinda, it would be minuscule,
Yeah.
right? We're like, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin?
That's a visual. That was good. Okay, so,
All right. Any other questions? All right.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
So, next up, we have a proposed ordinance related to drone fishing. This started, I think it was last month. We received several complaints about the use of drones to drop baits and lines fishing on the beach. And we had a discussion about it last month. Shortly after the city council meeting last month, DNR called and emailed saying they'd been told we were looking to ban or limit shark fishing in general, and that they'd like to speak to us about that because they control that. And we had some correspondence. We said, no, we're not trying to ban shark fishing. And then researching what we could do to take some sort of action related to the drones. We found an ordinance that's already on the books at Isle of Palms. It's not specific to shark fishing, it's not specific to any location. It just prohibits the use of mechanical devices such as drones to aid in dropping bait and fishing lines. It's on the books in Isle of Palms. I read it, I thought, hey, this sounds exactly what we were talking about at Folly Beach. So we put it in a drafted ordinance and we sent it to DNR and said, what do you guys think about this? It's not limiting, banning, relocating any type of fishing activities. It's just regulating the use of drones or mechanical devices. After the agenda got published, about 7 o'clock on Friday night, DNR emailed and said they had concerns about this proposal also, and they'd like to schedule time to review it. I said, that's great. In the meantime, the first question I'm gonna get is what's the specific law or regulation or authority that you have over drone fishing? This is adopted by Isle of Palms, so if you can help me educate my council what we're up against, that would help. They declined to answer that question and said, we'd like to talk to you guys about it. So, given the fact that DNR has reached out proactively to the city to help us make sure we pass the most compliant ordinance possible to address the problem, I'd like to ask you guys to postpone this for another month, to give us time to hear out DNR and what they have to say.
I certainly have some thoughts on this too, because there's an overlap here with our mooring battles that we've been through. But I mean, there's a good bit of support for a city doing this. I'll just put it that way. And I'm more than happy to go through the 3 or 4 statutes that address that.
And from a municipality, do we have the authority to supersede the use of drones based on state law, or for that matter?
We're not well, I'll just go ahead and tell you that, first of all, our corporate limits go out a mile into the ocean for the purposes of enforcing laws. Secondly, there's a specific statute that says a coastal municipality may enact and enforce regulations. It determines necessary for the safety of all persons on the beach. So that's another one. And then there's another one that gives us corporate limits, again, extended into the ocean. So, I mean, I have not, I'd be really interested, I gotta go look at this complaint that allegedly got filed and what support they have for saying, oh, you can't do this. But I think a reasonable regulation that's limited, I mean, it's one thing to ban shark fishing completely, it's another to do what Isle of Palms has done and just say you can't use drones.
I concur.
So we'll postpone it for further information till the next meeting?
That's what we're asking you guys to do. And to be clear, DNR, they didn't cite a specific thing, so I don't know what their objection is or what they'd like. They might come back and say, hey, this
How
is
long
a
have
great
they
idea.
known about this? We've been talking about this for 3 months.
Someone, after the last city council meeting, someone put in a tip to DNR that we were banning shark fishing, and that's what started it. They were under the impression that we were trying to ban shark fishing, and we corrected that and said, hey, we're not trying to ban it. This is our proposed language. It's on the books in Isle of Palms, and they said, we'd still like to talk to you about it.
Okay, so even after you re-educated them as far as what was on the agenda, they're asking to have a follow-up with you prior to our discussion or decision.
Yeah, they get no real specifics, so it's just, we're just waiting.
Why? I mean, there's the question is why? Well, why are we being held hostage by this conversation with DNR? They've known about this for 3 months. Even if somebody got tipped on it, okay, maybe the use of the word shark versus not shark. Actually, they're not fishing for sharks half the time. Most of you guys know that. So, for what it's worth, I don't know why we're being intimidated by this conversation. I think we have the authority to move forward, and if DNR wants to work on our timeline, they should be here tonight.
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's very important that we maintain our relationships, partnerships, certain things like that. So I'm more than willing to delay this as far as a process. These are folks that we need to work with, and so I have no problem getting more information and delaying it 1 month.
And it's remember now, it's two votes to pass, so it'll be October before we can even push this through.
I understand that, but I
Summer's
think,
over.
I think the risk though of
I
not,
saw somebody get wrapped in a line last week with a drone. A surfer got wrapped in a line by the drone, okay, by the line. This is not gonna wait till October. This has to move. We've gotta do something on this, folks. And if we're intimidated by the potential of a lawsuit, as we heard last time, which I don't hold any gravity with that. But my biggest concern is why we're kowtowing to a conversation, because we're concerned about being intimidated by DNR. I am a big proponent of DNR, but I'm a very big proponent of safety in the water. And the water right now is not safe. These things have exploded exponentially in terms of the number of people out there doing this. And like we said last time, just one incident between now and October when this thing gets passed and there's a shark drive right across a kid is, you know, they're dragging it across the top of the water. Okay, and I watched them pull over 3 feet of water from a quarter-mile out. And by the time the shark got in, or the alleged catch got in, it was gone. It was just the head. Okay, they're eating it along the way, and people who are in the water are watching this happen. They're just following it. I don't know why we're being intimidated by a conversation by an external party. We are in charge of our city and the safety of therefore. I like it.
We have to work with DNR.
I like it.
We work with DNR all the time, but, I mean, as people have said, you're looking at me, so I'm responding.
I'm just saying the squeeze is not worth it. I understand where you're coming from, but I think in this instance, we're just gonna have to get more clarity on the situation. I mean, that's just.
Same way, get the information, 30 days, 60 days is not gonna make that big of a difference. Let's get it right the first time.
On their timeline when they decide to meet with us.
And I just want to be perfectly clear, I'm not intimidated by DNR. So my motive and my commitment is that we need to maintain relationships, we need to balance all of this, and I feel that postponing is a reasonable option. And if we decide safety and danger is an issue, that's why we have special meetings and other things.
So we'll try to schedule that meeting with them as soon as possible.
So next up is incorporating the visual inspection requirements into the rental ordinance. For a long time, we've had a septic, or we did have a septic inspection requirement that was related to rental licensing, but not directly tied into it. There was no penalty really to the rental license for not doing the thing that the septic tank ordinance required. So you guys recently adopted an amendment to the septic inspection ordinance, lowering it from an automatic pump out every year to a visual inspection every year and a pump out only when needed. And you also made an important change to the septic ordinance, which said which explicitly and directly tied it to the rental registration. So this ordinance 2526, is to incorporate that concept into the rental ordinance also. We're starting on sorry, my page numbers are cut off. I think it's page 31 for the work session. It's ordinance 2526. So right at the top, in the purpose, applicability, and definitions, since this is a septic ordinance, it's now part of the rental registration process. I just wanted to add, for extra bolstering to the purpose of the rental ordinance, that we're not only protecting neighborhoods and quality of life, we're protecting water quality. That's just in case anyone later questions how septic tank rules got tied into the rental ordinance. It's because our rental ordinance is also geared towards protecting water quality. And then the actual meat of the amendment starts on page 34, where we've just copied over, we reference the visual inspection here now in chapter 117. And so we've copied the definition into chapter 117 so that someone reading through the rental ordinance who says, oh, I have to do a visual inspection, what does that mean? They can find it right here in this section without cross-referencing back to chapter 25. And then page 37 requires that in order to get your rental registration, you have to provide documentation that a visual inspection has been done. So previously, we've asked people for it. If they didn't provide it or didn't have it, we reminded them that it was technically a violation of the septic tank ordinance, but not a violation of the rental ordinance. Now, if they can't provide documentation that they've done the visual inspection, that's a violation of the rental ordinance, and their rental registration application can be denied. So that's what item S there on page 37 will do. And then page 38, right on the back, all the way down, about 2/3 of the way, item P. We're adding failure to inspect or repair a failed system is a violation of the chapter. So that is what lets us issue a strike, failure to inspect. So if they don't do it, we can deny their rental registration, but we can also cite them for not doing it, and when they're cited for not doing it and found guilty of not doing it, we can then use that to issue a strike in the license. And one of the things we talked about was escalating penalties. The strike ordinance has built-in escalating penalties, and there's not really a clean way to make a parallel system just for septic strikes. So just so council is aware, this makes failure to inspect a strikeable offense. And so the escalating penalties was the first strike is a warning, the second strike is a warning with a 5, the third strike is a revocation of the license. You don't need 3 septic strikes to get there, you just need 3 strikes in general. So depending where the septic strike fell, it could result in any one of these. But the biggest thing is, if you don't do it, you don't even get a rental registration. So there won't be any strikes against your license, because you can't have a rental registration, you won't have a license. So basically, if you don't do it, we now have a mechanism to deny your license being renewed, period, before we even get to strikes or revocation.
Yes,
I think we get on it.
Yeah, that ties it all in.
All right, so,
And that is annual for all rentals.
all right, we got 4 minutes.
Good to see you, TJ. Looking good in black.
Yeah, tired of going through.
Just want to say thank you for all the questions.